When the world gets better, let's build a better world.
Of better values and choices.
With cleaner homes, cleaner energy, cleaner coastlines. With better products from better materials.
Using less, but giving more.
When the world gets better, let's just get better and better. Miele, immer besser.
Andrew,
Merci.
thanks for coming. So
Thank
just
you.
to give you a bit of insight into tonight, we are doing a live stream about this beautiful table, the chairs, the kitchen, and it's actually all made by Andrew, who's sitting here in Ballarat. Last week we actually interviewed Rowan Reid, who is a bit of an expert on agroforestry. So I'm a big fan of using timber from farms to make our furniture, and I also believe that in the future our farmers can be the future suppliers of all timber. They hold a huge amount of land in Australia, and a lot of that land is not productive and could be used for growing trees. So Andrew's been making furniture in Ballarat for a few years, and he's just moved his factory to a solar powered factory in Ballarat. So he just told me that when did you move in? About 6 months ago?
12 months ago, yeah.
12 months ago now. Wow. No power bills, mate.
No, it's fantastic. No, everything's powered by the sun.
So what's the size of the system that you've got on the roof there?
I think it's about 500 kVA, so it's huge. It could run a small town.
Wow.
It's big. There's 3,000 square metres of factory space with a full solar system on it.
Because all the machinery that you use, like the lathes and the sanders and the
They use a lot of power and the lighting.
Yep.
So it's a good result for us.
So tell me, how did you get started in, what made you start?
Furniture?
Yeah.
I went to a pretty academic school, and I did a bit of woodwork in year 10 for a term with metalwork and sewing and other things we did at school, and I just had a passion for it. I said to my dad at the time, I just want to leave school and this is my passion, this is what I want to do. He just said stay at school, and which I did, and went to uni, but my passion always fell back to making things with timber. So I had a little shed at my mum and dad's where I bought a little saw and just made things, fixed things, learned how to restore antiques, and then spent a lot of time overseas buying furniture and fixing it and restoring it, and then it just became a passion and just become my business, my career. It's
cool.
Great. Yeah, I love it. It's every day is different. We just make different products, and we don't do any production furniture. It's all one-off pieces for people like this sort of stuff. That
And so you're best known for your tables. You seem to have made a bit of a name for.
Yeah, we do some tables and some big tables. We have I think we make some of the biggest tables that have ever been made in Australia, including one recently that was 9 metres long, single piece. So it's 32 people. So that's it was for a commercial business, but he just wanted to sit his 31. He had 31 staff at the time, and he wanted to sit them all there at one table for a Christmas do, and it was a bit of a challenge, but it worked well. That was for Buxton Real Estate. Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Hey, and so you're based in Ballarat?
Yes.
You grew up in Ballarat?
Yep, went to school there, still there. My mum still lives there. We some of this timber come from the family farm.
Yeah, how good was this tree?
Yeah, this is a cypress or a macrocarpet tree that we that was ready, had reached its usable life, and it was a good.
So when we actually built this frame in late July last year at Fed Square, I drove straight from putting this frame up straight to Andrew's mum's farm, and we cut this tree from the 1870s, 1880s. It was pretty old. If you actually go onto Future Foods System Instagram, and there's a highlight called No FSC. I'm pretty proud of the fact that we haven't used any Forest Stewardship Council timber in this project. So it's all, we've sourced the timber. We've really proud of the fact that we've used this timber, and so it was milled on site, and then we milled it using a Lucas mill.
Yeah, so we had a good friend Lachlan Deere who come and gave us a hand, and
then you had a solar powered kiln.
Same thing at the factory, which we dried the timber, and this timber dries fairly quickly, so we're able to dry it in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
And it's ready to use and ready to make furniture out of it. So it was a good waste. This timber is normally farmers just push up cypress trees. They were planted as windbreaks over the last 100 years ago, and it's not something that they commonly use now. But no one really uses a lot of furniture for building, but it was great to be able to put it to good use. I'd made a few bits for my mum and dad years ago that out of the same off the family farm, just as a bit of a project. And
so why do you think this timber's not being used as much? Is it classified as like a cheap timber, or is it not cool, or what's the?
Yeah, I think it's because most mills and big timber mills get farmed from sustainably sourced forest, but it's easy to go and get 100 trees that are all in a row, similar size. They chop them down and then they mill similar size. This stuff is a very random growing tree that's very gnarly and hard to mill.
Yep.
So it's more of a like we milled it with a Lucas mill, or but it's a beautiful timber. It's a beautiful colour. It's just got a natural oil on it. We've finished it with.
Yeah, so no paint or anything has gone on it.
No,
This is an oil that's made
non-toxic, just out of vegetables, basically.
Yeah, wow.
Developed in Germany to put on floors when they banned all the toxic 2-pack paints and things, and then we just use it on furniture in its natural state. We don't add anything to it at all.
Yeah, it's also in the kitchen and all the kitchen doors and stuff, and we love it. And if you get a scratch on it, you just kind of rub a little bit more oil on it.
Yep, rub some oil, or if it's a bad scratch, you can sand it and re-oil it. And we make, I've got a shop in here in Melbourne where we make 14 to 15 tables a week, and 90% of them are oil finished. And
Yep.
it's a great product. The customer can just lightly sand it and re-oil it, and it's fixed. It's good.
Hey, so in the future, we've talked about this a lot, but I'm really excited by this idea that farmers start to grow timber for people like yourself. What sort of timbers do you think farmers should be planting?
Probably the hardwoods, the sugar gums, and the stuff that they've been planting. Australian native hardwoods, and just for windbreaks and for stock shelter and all that sort of stuff that they've done it for hundreds of years. But now they could actually, with a bit of help, plant great windbreaks that 15, 20 years we can actually use that timber to make furniture, to make houses, to make joinery. Yeah, it's a good...
But one of the things that Rowan said is a timber that's being looked at quite favourably here in Australia is oak, because it slows bushfires down. So, he's recommending for farmers to put in oak belts. And
I'm not sure, I don't know. I haven't seen any plantations of oak that have been there for a long time, so I'm not sure how it... but Rowan's the expert, so he'll know.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Sugar gum is great because you can coppice it. So as a farmer, you cut it and then it grows back. You don't have to replant it. And so what do you use sugar gum for? I mean, I know that we've used it in the carcass of the kitchen.
Sugar gum's great for decking. You can use it outdoors on decking, just same process, just oil it. It's a little bit of a maintenance thing, but or it just grays off like your deck out here. It's it's extremely hard, extremely durable outside. So sugar gum's good timber. Any of the iron barks and those sort of timbers are great. They'll be a bit slower growing, but they're just fabulously hard timbers for floors, for for future use.
And so I spoke to a friend of mine who's an architect and does a lot of larger projects, and I told him that I was doing this interview with you tonight, and he asked me to ask, can you be commissioned to make, say, 35 kitchens or 35 tables for larger projects, or
we can.
Island benches?
The thing, my business is based around solid timber, so if they're happy to use it rather than a laminate or an overlaid sort of flooring type product, we more than happy to.
You don't use engineered stuff?
We don't, very rarely. It's maybe if an architect specifies it on a job, we have to use it, but we don't cut any MDF or chipboard in our factory at all. Even the shelving in your kitchen was all made out of sugar gum. So it's all, it's a good product.
So would you recommend that if I'm an architect, would you recommend that the architect approaches you early so they design with you rather than, to avoid that?
It could work. There's lots of timbers you can use internally in a kitchen rather than chipboard or MDF. A lot of them are banned in the States because of the carcinogens and the glues and stuff. I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I think going forward, if we can plant enough trees to sustain solid timber kitchens, that's what they used to do back in the until plywood was heavily used in the 50s. Kitchens were made of timber. Kauri, Hue and Pine, those Australian timbers that grow naturally here and were pest resistant, water resistant. Horse troughs that you see out in old farms with timber ones, still as good today as the day they were made. They're made of.
That's really interesting about macrocarpets, termite resistant too.
Correct. It's a good timber. That smells great as well. It's good to work with in our factory, and
it's actually the smell that is actually what repels the termites. Apparently, I don't know.
But I think so. As they have a little nibble, they probably a little bit distasteful for them.
And so at the moment, there's a huge shortage of timber. Has that affected your business a lot?
Not really. We use some imported American timber, which comes from sustainable, privately owned farms. Walnut and American oak, which is what Rowan's talking about. We use some French timbers. We use second-hand timber, urban salvage trees that are chopped down in parks, and developers doing a project will get the logs, mill them, dry them, use that in our furniture.
Yeah.
We used to use a lot more second-hand timber than we do now, but
what's the reason for it's hard to get?
No, yeah, it's harder to get, and it's hard to get consistent supply, dry supply. It's so we tend to use more sustainably sourced timber and this sort of stuff. Just urban salvage stuff that's going to come down anyway and gets pushed up into a fire pile. And you see this in the country all the time. Cypress trees just getting pushed up into big fire heaps, and it's not even such a good timber to burn in open fires or Canaras or those things anyway. No. So it's it burns very quickly. It burns hot, but very quickly. So we tend to use a lot more hardwoods for.
One of the things that we did, which was an experiment with you because we worked so closely with you, was when you milled the timber, you saved the sawdust because you've got these huge plastic bags that are attached to all your
machines,
saws and
everything.
And we at like 5 o'clock in the morning, I took that sawdust and drove to Elmore. And we actually turned that into biochar.
It's fantastic.
Which was actually, we've made some panels. So all of the compressed straw panels in this house actually have about 300 kilos of your sawdust that's been turned into charcoal, impregnated in it. Plus we've also used some on the roof.
It's fantastic.
But I don't think I've even told you, but like there's some panels sitting with the CSIRO, and they're looking at testing it to see if it actually locks up the coronavirus.
Wow.
So we did was probably only about 6 weeks ago, DuraPanel made another batch specifically for testing where they actually weighed exactly 100 grams per square metre. So we had a consistent amount going to every panel, and that's now getting tested to see how much pollution it actually absorbs.
Charcoal's a fabulous absorbent of toxins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Proven for years,
Yeah, so I first became aware of it when I was in Cuba. They were using bowls of charcoal in hospitals to control golden staph. Right. So airborne viruses and toxins and pollution like benzene and formaldehyde actually get absorbed into the, so I just thought this would be a great way to use your sawdust that then becomes stable, and you can either add it to soils or you can add it to building materials. So again, I know this was something that we discussed this morning with my friend. You'd be up for supplying that more permanently? Yeah, because there's just a lot of sawdust that
we do. We have lots. Currently, we give it to some garden supplies places that take it and mix it with soil and put it back into the gardens. But we'd love to do it.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
So yeah,
we have very little waste with what we do. There's all the offcuts. There's nothing gets put into landfill at our factory.
Well, the beauty is because you don't cut MDF or plywood, people are happy to take your offcuts in.
Everything. There's no waste. Sawdust, MDF. Yeah, it's great.
So, if you're an architect and you're a designer in Melbourne, whatever you're working on, you can actually get in touch with Andrew and get him to actually custom make something for you. And it's all happening. You can even have the whole thing solar powered, so there's no carbon footprint with that. You can even go as far as finding trees. Like someone like Rowan Reed loves working with people like Andrew. So if you want to actually go and select a tree that then gets cut, like the building process takes so long. By the time you've got your permits and all those sort of things, you can actually do this. It takes a tree can get cut. It takes hardwood can take up to 6 months to
6 to 12 months. Yeah. So ideally, if we can cut it and air dry it for 6 months in a fairly stable environment, just in open air but covered.
Yep.
It dries fairly quickly depending on thickness. And then, so within the building time frame, when the joinery furniture is getting used at the last part of the building process, it could easily be used.
Yeah, so, there's a real cradle. Like you can really follow the whole, from the tree to the furniture being made. You can even go to Ballarat and watch the stuff being put together like I did with this.
Yeah, you can choose boards with knots in. You can have a real say in how you get it, what it's going to look like. And we can involve you in any part of the process.
Yeah. So, you know, again, like when I do tours, lots of architects say, yeah, you did this, but it's impossible to do. It's not impossible to
Not
do.
at all.
It's great, like, and that's the beauty about it. It's just up the road. It's a great drive to Ballarat. And you can go and really get involved in this process and know and be 100% sure that the timber that you've used in whatever project you've worked on is sustainable, comes from a sustainable source, and didn't harm the environment, or didn't come from an old growth forest or whatever like that. So, and know that it's being made here right on the, in local skills. And
there are some great mills all over Australia that will dry the timber. They can send
Yeah.
it to us dry, so it's not a expensive process that you have to get a log carted from Cairns to Ballarat to then be milled. You can actually, there's sawmillers everywhere that will
Yep.
cut it, dry it, send it to us, or other good furniture makers around Australia. It's not
Yep.
just
And one thing I really love about what's happened with the whole COVID situation, and it's not just in Australia, but it's happening in America and Europe, is that we're all starting to focus on getting things made locally. And we're much more interested in making sure that we know where things come from, how they're done. And if you really believe in this idea of supporting farmers to, pay a farmer to actually cut a tree down and use that tree and then follow this process through, it's not necessarily more expensive. There's some really, really expensive kitchens coming out of other parts of the world. So don't think that this is something that makes it more expensive. It's actually just much more local. It really is up to how you design it. Andrew also makes chairs and all sorts of different stools and other things. So, you can have all kinds of hardware installed. So whatever...
a lot of timber bench tops and vanity tops and things that you can use and still incorporate into part of your house, that whether we do it all in timber or just parts of it.
Yeah.
It's a great product. Timber's got a natural antibacterial, which is proven in Europe. Big companies like Team 7 in Europe use it, oil it like we do.
Yep.
And it's proven that it, for years they used chopping boards, for meat, and no one ever got sick from buying meat from the butchers. They banned them here, and now they've realised that timber chopping boards have a natural antibacterial when they're scrubbed each night, and it's a lot less harmful than the plastic chopping boards that we're told to use are actually harbouring bacteria and.
Well, I actually had a bit of a Barney with the health department when I had silo, and we had no plastic chopping boards.
Yep.
All of our chopping boards were timber, and we were told we had to throw them out and get plastic chopping boards. And I actually gave them a German study that showed that bacteria can't grow on timber chopping boards.
Yes, it's
And
incredible,
so,
isn't it? Yeah.
Most kitchens you go into, they have these big tubs of bleach, and they're soaking the plastic chopping boards in this bleach, once a week. It's like crazy, man. Like, let's just go back to chopping boards
Yep.
that are made from timber.
Hundreds of years, all through, even in Australia up until that, early 70s, they were still using wooden chopping blocks in all butcher stores.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I think it'll all turn around very quickly, and it's great to be part of it. And people like you, Yosti, that are encouraging the use of real timber.
And also, if you're young and you're interested in getting into this, I really believe there's a big future in this industry, from start to the end. So if you're interested in agroforestry, there's some great courses at Melbourne Uni, and there's some great courses that you can do online, all here in Australia. And then if you want to make, furniture makers, there's huge demand for Australian-made, high-quality timber furniture, kitchenware. I think it's a great career for people to get into, and it's such a beautiful thing to work with.
Really rewarding. Every day you do something different.
Yeah.
Not many people have the same. We don't do production furniture, and it's just one-off piece for you and the next customer. And it's it's a great. And the guys that work for me, they love it. They do something different every day.
Yep.
And it's really rewarding.
Well, thanks so much for everything you've done.
You're
here.
welcome. Yeah, no worries.
And
Hope
people
to-
absolutely love these tables and the chairs and the kitchen and everything else. And if you're interested, go onto our Future Food System Instagram account. No FSC is the highlight, and you can watch the whole process from the tree being cut down. Also, I met with there's actually a film being made about this, a documentary by Good Thing Productions, the people behind 2040 and That Sugar film. And the footage that they captured of Andrew's tree being cut down and milled and turned into this incredible furniture is pretty amazing. So that comes out late in July next year. So up until then, get onto our Instagram. And if you want to commission some great furniture and go and check out Andrew's tables or chairs or whatever, Arranmore Furniture, and we'll put a link at the end. Thank you.
Congratulations, Joe. See you on the CNN report this morning on the news bulletin that gave you a good rap for Future Foods.
Yeah, it's
Fabulous.
little house in Fed Square.
Seen all over the world this morning on CNN.
See ya.
Thank you.